Rock music has always been about raw energy, unforgettable performances, and moments that transcend time. From jaw-dropping solos to legendary live shows, these events have shaped the genre's legacy and defined generations. Today, we're counting down 10 of the most epic moments in rock history. Freddie Mercury's vocal warm-up at Live Aid. Few frontmen in rock history commanded an audience like Freddie Mercury. His presence was magnetic, his voice unparalleled, and his ability to control a crowd legendary. But even among his countless performances, one moment stands above the rest: his vocal warm-up at Live Aid in 1985. Live Aid was one of the biggest musical events ever, a global charity concert featuring an all-star lineup. But no act defined the event quite like Queen. Their 20-minute set is widely regarded as the greatest live rock performance of all time. As the band took a brief pause, Mercury led the 70,000-strong Wembley crowd through a vocal exchange. Raising his fist, he belted out "Ayo," his voice echoing across the stadium, perfectly matched by the roaring audience. Axl Rose's explosive intro. Axl was known for his wild energy and unpredictable performances, but his 1992 rendition of "Welcome to the Jungle" in Tokyo captured the raw intensity that made him one of rock's most electrifying frontmen. As the band launched into the iconic opening riff, Axl's signature high-pitched wail tore through the stadium, instantly sending the crowd into a frenzy. It wasn't just a scream, it was an explosion of power, an unfiltered burst of adrenaline that set the tone for the entire performance. Drenched in sweat almost immediately, Axl moved with the unrelenting energy of someone possessed by the music, his voice razor-sharp, yet dangerously on the edge. Angus Young's wild on-stage antics with Bon Scott. Angus Young has always been a whirlwind on stage, a guitarist who doesn't just play, he performs. But during one wild AC/DC show, he took it to another level, jumping onto Bon Scott's shoulders, drenched in sweat, gasping for air, yet refusing to slow down. As the band tore through the rock frenzy, Angus duck-walked, stomped, and attacked his guitar with manic intensity. Then, mid-song, he climbed onto Scott's shoulders, gripping his guitar as Scott carried him through the audience, grinning the whole way. It was pure AC/DC, raunchy, raw, and completely unhinged. Jimmy Page's Stairway to Heaven solo. Jimmy Page's guitar work on Stairway to Heaven is legendary, but his 1975 live performance of the solo took it to an entirely new level. On that night, in front of a sea of mesmerized fans, he stood center stage, draped in his signature Black Dragon suit, as he delivered one of the most iconic solos in rock history. The moment was pure magic, his fingers gliding across the fretboard with effortless precision, bending notes that seemed to cut through time itself. Unlike the pristine studio recording, this live version had an untamed, almost mystical quality. Page played with a loose, fluid energy, pouring raw emotion into every note. The solo built in intensity, starting with hauntingly delicate phrasing before erupting into a soaring, blues-infused climax that sent chills through the audience. His body swayed with the music, completely lost in the moment. Metallica's Thunderous Enter Sandman intro at the Freddie Mercury tribute concert. By 1992, Metallica was already a dominant force in heavy metal, but their performance at the Freddie Mercury tribute concert proved just how massive their impact had become. Held at Wembley Stadium, the event featured rock legends from across generations, but when Metallica tore into Enter Sandman, they delivered one of the most electrifying moments of the night. As the opening riff rang out, a thunderous wall of sound engulfed the stadium. James Hetfield's razor-sharp guitar, Kirk Hammett's piercing leads, and Lars Ulrich's pounding drums hit like a shockwave. The audience, a mix of Queen fans and rock lovers, was instantly drawn in, fists pumping as the groove took hold. Elvis Presley's Can't Help Falling in Love, the first global satellite concert. By 1973, Elvis Presley was more than just a rock and roll star, he was a cultural phenomenon. But on January 14th, he achieved something no other performer had done before. His concert, Aloha from Hawaii via satellite, became the first live musical event ever broadcast globally via satellite, reaching an estimated 1.5 billion viewers. Incredibly, this meant that more people tuned in to watch Elvis than had witnessed the moon landing just 4 years earlier. The concert itself was a spectacle, but its emotional peak came when Elvis performed Can't Help Falling in Love. Dressed in his now iconic white jumpsuit, adorned with an American eagle, He stood at center stage, his voice carrying a tenderness that silenced the massive crowd. Unlike his rock and roll anthems, this ballad showcased the softer, more vulnerable side of Elvis, and in this moment, his legendary charisma reached beyond the arena and into living rooms across the world. AC/DC's Highway to Hell, live at River Plate. AC/DC is the definition of pure, unfiltered rock and roll. Their 2009 show at River Plate in Buenos Aires wasn't just a concert, it was an eruption of energy, one of the most electrifying performances in rock history. As the opening chords of Highway to Hell blasted through the stadium, tens of thousands of fans, all wearing the band's iconic devil horns, roared in unison. The sheer volume was deafening, turning the show into something closer to a religious experience than a concert. Angus Young, unstoppable as ever, tore across the stage, his fingers flying over his Gibson SG in a blur of sweat and intensity. Queen's Jailhouse rock cover. Queen was more than a band, they were a spectacle. Every performance was larger than life, driven by the unmatched showmanship of Freddie Mercury and the musical brilliance of Brian May, Roger Taylor, and John Deacon. Their 1981 concert in Montreal is considered one of their finest, a performance that showcased their ability to transform even a cover song into a masterpiece. As soon as the first notes of Elvis Presley's Jailhouse Rock rang out, it became clear this wasn't just a tribute, it was a reinvention. Mercury, strutting across the stage in his signature flamboyant style, owned every lyric. His voice soared with raw energy that made the song feel brand new, while Brian May's guitar gave it a heavier, more modern edge. The crowd responded with unrestrained enthusiasm, clapping, stomping, and singing along as Queen turned the song into a full-fledged rock and roll celebration. Queen infused Jailhouse Rock with their signature theatricality, making it unmistakably their own. Mercury's charisma was on full display, his voice effortlessly powerful, his stage presence commanding. The Beatles' Rooftop concert. No moment in rock history is as simultaneously rebellious and bittersweet as the Beatles' final live performance. On January 30th, 1969, the band took to the rooftop of Applecore in London for an impromptu concert that would go down as one of the most iconic moments in music history. By this time, tensions within the Beatles were at an all-time high. They hadn't performed live since 1966, and the Get Back recording sessions had been fraught with disagreements. Yet for 42 glorious minutes, the magic was still there. As they launched into songs like Get Back, Don't Let Me Down, and I've Got a Feeling, the streets below filled with stunned onlookers. Then came the police. Concerned about noise complaints, officers arrived to shut the performance down. But the Beatles played on, defying authority in one final act of rock and roll rebellion. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you think there's another moment that deserves to be on this list? Let us know in the comments section below.